This is the Plain English Real Estate Show with your host, Rowena Patton, a show that focuses on the real estate market in terms you can easily understand. Call Rowena now. The number is 240-9962 or 1-800-570-9962. Now here's the English girl in the mountains, the agent that I would trust, Rowena Patton.
Good morning and welcome to the show. And I'm sorry we're a little bit late here today, having some technical difficulties all over the place, actually. Was it just local or regional? Was it national, Randy? Do you know?
I think this was just a local power surge about 7:30 this morning.
Ouch.
And I've been around this business long enough. Power surges cause things to get fried. And it fried some stuff of ours here. But
do we have any of that fried? Because we need some breakfast.
I'm hungry, too. Donuts, fried
oh,
donuts.
My.
Yeah.
It was one of those days today. I came in and for some reason somebody thought it was a good idea to bring a double wide down I-26 from Hendersonville to Asheville this morning.
No.
Like, woohoo! Actually, it looked like it was on the way to Johnson City because it kept going. However, I made it, and it's like, oh, we might not be on the air. So we're so grateful for those of you sticking around. I don't know if it was quiet and you were wondering whether we were a bit quiet this morning, or you were tapping your radios or your phones going, oh, it's broken, what's going on? But we're here now, and Will's here, and it's so great to be back. I came back from Texas this week. I was at a real estate conference, and it was very eye-opening and basically saying all the things that we've been talking about. So it ain't just here where the real estate market's changing. It's all over the country. There were a lot of agents from really all over the country and internationally there, and pretty much everyone is telling the same story. There aren't really any pockets where things are, hopping.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I'm dying to hear about what you learned at the conference. If you have any highlights or any
absolutely. Oh, we will definitely
any market updates from them.
So we have Will here. I haven't seen you in a while. What's your week been like, Will? It's so nice to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you too. My week's been busy. Less with real estate, more just with home repair and remodeling. We had
Your
our
kitchen done yet?
Granite countertops put in yesterday.
Finally.
Yeah.
Isn't it great when they go in, you're like,
oh my gosh,
finally.
It makes a kitchen go from looking fairly bare and skin and bones to almost being a complete finished kitchen. Because they install the sink too.
Yeah,
so,
and not having a sink in your kitchen, it doesn't sound like a lot. But those of us who've been through it, it's awful.
It's awful. My wife and I, we've been washing all the dishes in the bathroom sink for
little sink
for the last 2 months.
Can you get a pot in that sink?
Barely.
Yeah.
Barely. And then you can't let anything fall down it, otherwise it gets clogged and it's a little low, so it hurts your lower back to wash. I already hate washing the dishes. And so it just makes it even worse.
That's about the only thing I like, actually. So you should have had me over washing your dishes for you.
Bro, you can come wash your dishes anytime you want.
No, a little tip on that, because we like to give household tips as well. There's a and every single person should have one of these in their home, and they're less than $3. And it's about 3 foot long, and it's a sort of stiff plastic thing. You don't really notice what it is. Oh, Randy's putting a thumb up. It's like a stiff plastic thing, and it's got almost little fish hooks. It's just little pokies that go backwards, basically. So, and you stick this plastic thing down, it pulls everything out, right, Randy?
My bathroom sink needs that thing about every 6 months.
Yeah. Best thing ever.
Yeah.
I am not talking about the wire things, because they can get all twisted up, and you try and pull them out, and they get stuck, and I don't know, if you're selling those things, I'm sorry, probably going to get a lawsuit on us or something. But the plastic ones are like $3. Everyone should have one. It's got the little pokies on it. Then buy the brightly coloured one. There's another tip for you. Why? Because where do you put these things? Well, maybe some organised people put them in organised places. I don't know.
Under the sink is my guess.
Under the sink, yes. Yeah. And imagine if it's black. Do you think you'll notice it?
You're right.
You want it to be bright yellow or pink or bright green or something,
Yeah, that's a good tip. I've been using the hanger ever since college, and it's a lot of work, and it's probably not as effective. So,
if only I'd told you that 6 weeks ago when you were doing all the washing up in the bathroom sink, right?
Could have made my life a little easier.
Oh my gosh!
But that little tool keeps you from having to take apart the sink and the stopper and the tool and all of that mess. You don't have to do that with this thing. It's great.
And it is gross down there.
It is gross.
It's gross.
Yeah, it is.
In fact,
Their own grossness, but it's gross.
it is yuck. Yeah, it's not pretty. But again, the hard plastic one, it doesn't get caught in all the bits of wire because it's just a piece of plastic.
Yeah.
It's just a very, it's a sort of, doesn't really make sense, but a slightly bendy, very stiff piece of plastic. It's very strong.
Yeah.
Must be some special plastic or something.
Great invention.
But it's one, and it's $3. You know, I think it's even less than that. It's like
I feel like you should get
$1.99
some
or something.
royalties off this. You're
I
really
know.
talking it up.
One day, I'm going to build a Shopify site and put all this stuff on it because I have sold people so many of, kitchen hardware. I've got blog posts on them. The ones that are easy to choose, the ones that you can spend a few more dollars on, and dress it all up and make it look like $1 million. So yeah, you're right. It's all kinds of things like that.
Rose Home Tips.
Rose Home Tips. Yeah, Gary Sullivan. I mean, you must. Do you listen to Gary at the weekends?
No,
Is
I
that his
don't.
name? Am
I'm
I
not.
choosing the wrong one? He does a whole show the whole afternoon on home tips. He's awesome.
Oh,
I think that's his name.
Okay.
I may be getting his name wrong. You maybe that's our first trivia question. Oh, talking about trivia questions, I know you've got some trivia for us, Will.
Yeah.
Or if not, you're going to scramble through and look for it very quickly. It's going to be Will's trivia time.
No, I've got trivia questions. It's college football starts today.
Ooh.
I don't know if your team's playing. My team's not playing until
Oh.
Thursday, but for those of you who do love college football, that is starting today. I think UNC plays. I don't know if we have any UNC fans.
Florida A&M, 7
Yeah?
o'clock tonight, I think.
Yeah.
I would hope we have some UNC fans.
I think UNC is at 8 p.m. So anyway, my trivia is obviously going to be beer related because that comes with college football. So my question to you all is, where did the Hefeweizen originate from? The Hefeweizen, if you don't know, is that beer that has a little bit of a banana taste to it. It's a little on the hazier side typically, and it's absolutely delicious. It's one of my favorites.
Can you tell Will knows his beers?
What was pronounced that again?
Hefeweizen.
Hefeweizen.
Yep.
Got to remember that.
A, Germany. B, USA. C, Scotland. And D, Australia. A, Germany. B, USA. C, Scotland. And D, Australia.
That's a very tough one, but you all had an extra 5 or 10 minutes in the darkness this morning. Just
meditate.
to meditate and encourage your brain into your brainiacdom of the day. So I know you're all going to get this one. 240-9962 if you're calling in from Mars. 800-570-9962. Give us a call.
I've always wondered, where is Mars when you say that?
Where's Mars?
Yeah, if they're calling in from Mars, where are they calling from?
The planet Mars?
Okay. I didn't know if it was just out of North Carolina or...
Oh, you thought Mars was like a place in... It probably is. I bet there's a Mars somewhere. That might be our other question. I could say Pluto, except that's our other... It's our other trivia question.
Mars that's where men
What's
are
the
from.
planet we...
Yeah.
There you go. What's the planet that we all grew up with that's no longer a planet? Is it A, Venus? Is it B, Saturn? Or is it C, Pluto? 240-9962. There, we'll give you that one too. Just in case that darkness did things to your brain this morning. So you said, what did I learn in Texas? Well, it's funny. So a lot of people say, these real estate conferences are more about self-development than they are real estate. And that's true in a lot of ways because the people who choose to do them are usually on a self-development path. And, I'm all about learning. I like to do that stuff. And there's a whole lot of mind and body and everything else that's important to be able to deal with real estate because a lot of people don't realize. I mean, you tell me, well, you've been in real estate for a few years now. Is it easy? Everyone thinks it's easy, right?
Yeah, no, it's not easy. It's just dealing with people's emotions as well as your own.
Yes.
Whether you're trying to get business and stay busy or helping put out fires between, 3-4 different people at a time. Mm-hmm. So, no, I wouldn't say it's easy.
I think 60% of the job is being a therapist, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean that with love. I mean, it's our job.
Mm-hmm.
You may have siblings that have just lost parents. You may have a parent that lost their spouse.
Mm-hmm.
We have at least 2 couples who are divorcing that we're representing.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of very difficult situations that people find themselves in.
Yeah, I mean, and even if you're buying a home for the first time and you get news like, oh, there's high radon levels,
Yeah.
that could scare someone, to the cliff edge. But, as a real estate agent, you kind of talk them down and help them understand that it's super common.
I thought you were going to say scare them to the cliff.
Scare them to the cliff. And then
So would it scare? So talk about radon a little bit. Would that scare you?
No, not at all. Radon up here is very common. It's just as the minerals decompose in the soil, it creates radon that seeps through the house and is very common in houses with basements and kind of all over Western North Carolina. It's easily mitigated for $1,500, so you can install a radon mitigation system.
It used to be $1,200, but COVID increased
Inflation.
everything. Yeah, it was Putin that did it. Actually, Putin increased our radon prices. You know that.
Putin.
Yeah, we blame Putin for everything. Yep, it was him. He made
Yeah.
the gas go up. It's Putin's price hikes. So
Yeah, dang it.
he put the price of remediating radon up too. That dastardly devil.
Sorry, guys. Putin.
Yeah, Putin. Blame it all on Putin or COVID, any of the above. I think in big part, actually, what's happening is due to COVID. We'll blame something else on COVID. I think
Yeah.
we'll be hanging things on COVID for the rest of our lives. Actually, would be my guess.
Yeah, and it's good to have something to hang your
To
coat
blame.
on too.
You-
Yeah,
you
I'm okay with
absolutely dead
that.
right, yeah.
Man, COVID 10 years
Yeah.
ago really
But there's
messed me up.
So what I'm saying, exactly, yeah. It's like millennials, so millennials say, well, you're a millennial, aren't you?
Yeah.
Are you in that? Yeah, you're in that millennial zone. So you're in the elder millennial zone.
Yeah. Yep.
Like many of the people on the team, actually, you're the elder millennials. So many people in that age group. So how old are you to be a millennial now? Like up to 37, something like that?
I think so.
Something like that. Late 30s, I think. Maybe that's another
I'm
trivia
29,
question.
if that helps.
You're 29.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's up there a little bit. So you're just a middle-aged millennial in that case. So millennials, many of you grew up getting awards for things, right? Getting awards for coming last. So many millennials now blame what's going on in their life on being rewarded for everything and getting out into the workforce, particularly, and wondering what the rewards are. Like, wait, I'm the lowest on the leaderboard. Where's my reward? Maybe I came in last, but encourage me. And of course, that's a pendulum swing from all the latchkey kids who came home and didn't have their parents around. So all these parents then got around the kids and like, oh, we have to be there for them every second and reward them and encourage them. And I'm sure the pendulum will swing the other way. What
Yeah.
would you be like with your kids if you had any?
When my parents moved out of their home that we grew up in, I just remember going to my house and cleaning out my closet, and there was just piles of awards. First place, second place, third
Wow.
place, tried hardest,
Tried hardest. Did you have
most improved.
Did you get last place trophies?
Oh, me? No way.
Of course not. Yeah. Why would Will get one of those? I'm sure your friends did, though, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I had some friends that.
That is so funny. Do you still have them?
No, we got rid of all of them.
Oh, you did. I might put a shelf at work.
I try not to hold on to too much stuff. The house
I know,
is,
that's good.
it just gets messy so fast. And
really
how often
good.
are you going to look at your trophies from middle school?
Well, I think it would be funny because we could have had a shelf
Yeah.
in the office that said millennial trophies.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, maybe we... I mean, isn't that an idea? Randy, you used to be into trophies. Isn't that a great idea for... we all laugh at it and make fun of it, but couldn't that be something whereby we call them millennial trophies and, you could give them out to your world's worst sibling and that kind of thing instead of best?
I used to sell a whole lot of participation trophies.
Yeah.
And I never really thought about it until later. After that, I enjoyed the money that came from that sale.
Yeah.
But I never thought about that whole theory.
The millennial thing, yeah. I mean, Will
Yeah.
had a tried hardest. I bet that's because he came in fourth out of 300 people because, Will's competitive and he's very smart. And there's no way that, unless he didn't attend, would have come in last.
Yeah, so, trophy store owners, they're grinning all the way to the bank.
Yeah,
but,
really. So it is life cycles. It was interesting, actually, part of the conference. Tony Robbins was there, and I've never seen him before, and I was very excited to see him. And he talked about...
And who is Tony Robbins, for people that don't know?
Sure, he's a big... he's 6'7", so he really is big. He's a big giant of a man, and he's a motivational speaker. He came from nothing, got into it at 18 and now works with the biggest celebrities in the world, literally, and a lot of other people as well. A lot of sports teams. They fly him out to a sports team when they're having a bad time, and it's all about mindset and switching it around and getting into state. He's very big on talking about getting into state. Lots of breathing exercises.
What a cool job.
Yeah.
So he just travels around and motivates people, encourages people.
Lots of books, videos, lectures,
He only does one big event now, and he fills a stadium. And it's I think it's like $6,000 a person, and it's 4 days.
Wow.
And this guy is full of more energy than you've seen in your life. He does 10-hour days. And you're all exhausted, and this man who's 62 years old and 6'7" is still on stage, whooping it up. It's amazing.
Do you think he ever has a bad day? Do you ever think he's just like tired one day?
Probably, yeah. Well, he may just go off stage and go to heck with this.
Yeah.
But it's all in. He's worked with every business leader you can possibly think of. He's worked with. They call him into organizations all the time to go, okay, where is it we're not moving right? He had a great story about Agassi, the tennis player. And Agassi, I don't know if you remember this as well or not, but Agassi married Brooke Shields, which Randy was probably in love with when he was, Randy was probably in his 40s. You don't know who Brooke Shields is?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I thought you might.
Oh, yes.
You're nodding your head you weren't in love with Brooke Shields. Come on. Really?
My morning is still clouded by the death of Olivia Newton-John. I can't have any more room in my heart for anyone else.
Me too. Yeah, and what's her story for you?
Oh, that album cover that the program directors used to fuss all the time about not filing your albums after your shift, but nobody ever filed that album. It always was prominently displayed.
Oh, I love it. She only had 2 or 3 big ones, right?
She had a lot of hit records.
Yeah, but the songs on the albums, a lot of them were hits, but I think she only had 3 or 4 albums.
I think you're right. Yeah,
I think
and
she
of
was
course
busy doing Grease. And,
yeah.
Well, that's why she was my heroine, because I was a little skinny string bean. I was 95 pounds and 5'6" when I left school. That's skinny, and people used to tease me that I had cotton threads hanging from my skirt. Like, it was bad. I was really, really skinny. And then she came out in Grease as that little skinny thing. I'm like, well, she can do it. I can do it.
Yes.
She's a big inspiration to me. And of course, I think she was 32 when she did Grease. Did you know that? When she was the high schooler?
Yes. And she played the role of a teenager very well.
Well, and they all did. I mean, John Travolta wasn't 18 either. Do you remember Grease?
Oh, yeah.
Paul
barely, but I remember it.
Well, I'm sure most girls that you know have seen it 12 times.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they can sing all the words. Right, Randy?
Oh, yeah.
So, we R.I.P. Olivia Newton-John, who sadly passed away after a 30-year battle with breast cancer. The miracle there is that she made it 30 years, really, because of the...
gracefully.
Yeah, miracles of medicine. And she is sadly missed by a lot of people.
Absolutely.
And she was like 72 or 73, right? She wasn't, yeah. Which is pretty amazing, making it that long with that horrible disease. 1 in 8 women. Did you know that?
1 in 8.
1 in 8 women, yeah, very scary. So, yes, Tony Robbins is a motivational speaker. And why is that in real estate? Well, because you've got to keep your motivation high because you're dealing with people who are in a very stressed state generally. We have a lot of programs that de-stress the process of real estate. But he was also talking about life cycles because he's a great history buff. So, he talked about, I'm not going to do this justice at all, but he spoke about how, if you were in your mid-20s in the First World War, then you got through the First World War and everybody came back elated. And then what happened? Another World War hit. And then after the World War, I'm missing the Great Depression afterwards. And then, so that we had this whole cycle. And this cycle doesn't last a year. It lasts for 10 years. It lasts for 15 years. But not only that, it lasts in your mind if this thing happens to you forever. Right? So if you're a latchkey kid and your parents, latchkey kids were very common in Gen Xers and late boomers. That sounded like late bloomers. The younger, so you have to be 58 and up to be a boomer. And then you've got Gen Xers, and then you've got Gen Yers or something, and then you've got millennials. And those latchkey kids are the ones who gave all the awards and gave all the stuff to their kids because their parents weren't around, and it was the advent of women, working in the workforce a whole lot more. And then going into the 80s and 90s, well, then we went into the 50s and 60s where it was all perfect American families. We all grew up in perfect American families. That would be our parents' generation. And then in the 80s, of course, it was all about greed. Making money is good. It's fantastic. And then there was the massive recession after that and everything else that happened. I'm not sure what's happening in the 2000s because you can't sort of pinpoint it in the same way.
Yeah.
Even though we're 22 years in already. And that affects the psyche, and it affects, of course, how people buy houses and how people move around.
Right.
And there's a lot of people now, a lot of people that we deal with who are stuck in that house with a whole lot of bedrooms, and their kids aren't coming home anymore. I saw one last year, and honestly, it was so sweet. The kids are in their 40s with their own kids, and their little boy's bedroom still had like horsey wallpaper and a border with footballs on or something.
Wow.
That's literally 35 years old.
Yeah.
It was still perfect. That was the strangest thing about it. How does this happen?
Gosh, I don't know how people leave things the same for so long.
I know.
I like to fiddle around the house.
I know.
Like if I don't have anything going on, I'm like, okay, what's my next house project going to be?
Right.
That horsey wallpaper's got to go.
What about if it's your little boy, though? And I think things do change when you have kids.
Yeah, once it's more sentimental.
Yeah, and you hold on to that. And I think, excuse me, I think that's why a lot of people hold on to these houses that they no longer need because they're holding on to the memories in the house. I want to come back to stuff, too. You mentioned stuff. You don't like to have a lot of stuff around. How much stuff do you think how much stuff have you accumulated since you left? You left college, 10 years ago, something like that. So how much stuff do you think you've accumulated since then?
Quite a bit. When I first moved from college, I took myself and all my stuff in a Subaru Forester to Colorado.
Wow.
Not even a trailer, just me and my stuff. I think I had a bike rack and one of those Yakima racks on top, and that was it. Now, we moved, last year? And we had a full moving truck, one of those that like has the built-in cargo space that, it's like 12 feet long. So a lot of stuff.
And of course, you did accumulate a wonderful wife, Lauren, along the way. So there might be some of her stuff as well, I'm guessing, in there.
Yeah, some of her stuff. And that's the thing about once you buy a house is you got to fill the house with some stuff.
Right.
So you got to buy furniture and,
yes,
you have a bed that you got to haul around and
take note.
side tables.
If you're trying to get rid of any of this stuff, we are going to launch a program whereby you can have a house sale, and we're going to pull all the house sales together and put them on a map. You know how I like to do that and aggregate things.
Yeah.
Isn't that an obvious idea? And then every Saturday we will talk about it.
So you're saying if I'm selling a house, you'll get my information along with a couple other people, put them all in one place on a map so other people can find it?
Yeah. How many
for like a yard sale type?
How many house sales or yard sales do you think are going on today?
Oh my gosh, probably a lot.
Around WNC. What do you think?
200.
That many? Wow.
Yeah. Around the whole western end of the state. Easily.
Yeah. So let's do Asheville, Hendersonville, Waynesville, Black Mountain, that kind of area to start off with. So we might get 20 that are on the map. We will literally put up a map for you so that you can go and root out all of these sales.
That's a great idea.
Well, how do you find who's having a yard sale?
Well, they call in. That's why I'm mentioning it now. So I don't have the domain for you right now because honestly, I thought of this on the way in this morning. I thought, blinding glimpse of the obvious, a BGO. I actually went by a house sale. It said, 3 homes are having this. And, of course, you put signs out everywhere. We might make some signs for you as well so you can come and grab the signs. We do help with house sales. We have a whole program for seniors or people who are moving into some form of assisted living. So, which is, of course, very common because we have so many boomers. People in their 60s, people in their 70s, people in their 80s. Maybe one of you has started having some memory loss or some physical disability, and now you're moving with your partner into some kind of assisted living, or just renting a place that has the ability to have that assistance when you need it. And we will help you do a house sale. Just open it up for a couple of days. You'll get rid of so much stuff. You put the little sticky labels on it, and people come in, and you sell the darn stuff. Most siblings, most kids come in when they've lost a parent or they're trying to help an elderly parent who's moving on. Maybe they want them to move to South Carolina to be near them, or to another area. Now they're, getting up there a little bit and they need some help. And it's like babysitting the other way around. When you first have your kids, so your Will's age, you're in that cycle of life. You have your kids, your grandparents move to you because they're in their 50s at this point, and they want to be around you and your kids. They move close to you. It happens the other way round when they get older and they need help. So they move to because kids have got settled lives at that point. The kids are going to school, wherever they're going to school. So we will come in and help. So many of the kids think that you just bring a house clearance company in. There are house clearance companies, and we will help you with that as well. There's, junk my junk and remove my junk and all those companies as well. But there are companies that will come in and sell your furniture for you. But the truth is, I'm just going to say it, most of your furniture isn't worth a whole lot. Most of you don't have extremely valuable antiques like your kids think you have.
Right.
In fact, we're the old farts, we're probably saying to our kids, you need to treasure this bed set forever. And what do we think about? Right, yeah, you know what I'm talking about, Randy.
Oh, gosh, yes.
So most of us kids who look at our parents' stuff, we don't want snarky old, musty old antiques. We don't care if this break front's worth $5,000. We don't want it in a house because we want more modern furniture, right?
Right.
And that's every generation.
Mm-hmm.
So 50s and 60s, which would be your grandparents, I'm talking to Will here, would be his grandparents and probably Randy's parents and mine somewhere in between. My parents were born in the 50s, so it would be their parents. Probably be your parents too, your grandparents actually. They had mid-century modern furniture. It's 2022. What's now de rigueur? Like absolutely the most of what people are buying, mid-century modern. Mm-hmm. That style was the Jetson style, right? That was made popular in the 50s and the 60s. It's all come around again. Now, unfortunately, most of the stuff our parents are giving us are not that mid-century modern that's, really fashionable again. It's
the floral couch.
Floral couch, yeah.
Which, by the way, if someone wants one, there's one off of Deaverview that's been there for a few weeks now.
Beside the road.
Been rained on a few times. Yeah. There's a few squirrels living in it.
Yep.
You keep driving by it and going,
surprised no one wants a floral couch.
well, a floral couch might not be a bad thing.
I can see it.
I'm thinking about it. You're right.
Thinking about
You're not wrong.
Yeah, he's thinking.
He's got a truck.
Will does have an Airbnb. Go ahead and give that a mention, Will.
Yep.
A beautiful Airbnb, actually, that you can stay in.
Which is decorated mid-century modern, believe it or not.
See?
Yeah.
Just needs a couch.
Not a surprise at all.
Just trying to figure out, maybe an outdoor couch. I could put it on the porch.
Yes. Yes. So those of you who have the mid-century modern furniture that's been handed down, think about Jetsons, think about those round legs, a lot of wood and upholstery in the chairs. The chairs always give it away. The boomerang. Do you remember the boomerang, Randy? My grandparents had a boomerang. You wouldn't actually notice it. If I showed you the boomerang, you can all go Google it. Go Google boomerang pattern. So Will's doing it right now. My grandparents had a table with the boomerang pattern on. It's thousands of little tiny boomerangs, all at different angles and all intertwisted together. If you saw it, you'd know it in a million years.
Okay.
Very, very common. It was the most common pattern that was used. Yeah. And you know what you see it now? Men's bathing suits. All these young men don't know what they're buying. You know the big blocky colours, Will, that you're buying now with the big blocky colours, and they're often muted, like a pumpkin orange and a grey blue square, and then a pumpkin orange circle and all that stuff. That's mid-century modern. It's all coming back. So you may have some things in your home that's worth something, but most house clearance companies, and we will help you with those, you need you need a much longer timeline, because it's generally going to take them 4, 6, 8 weeks to come out, because they're very highly booked. It's going to take you some time. So meanwhile, we can help you with that house sale to get rid of all that stuff in preparation for the sale. Now, Will said, what did you learn at the conference? Well, really that it's not just us saying it in Asheville, and we've been saying it here for 18 months or 2 years. That was called a callback.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
I should have asked you, what did you learn in your conference?
Well, you
Again,
did, in the beginning you did. Anyway, never mind about the callback, but it is sort of interesting context. It's what comedians do all the time. So they go blah 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 blah. Here's my story, very funny, very very funny, and they go right back to the beginning. That's called a callback.
Yeah.
Anyway, so callback to what did we learn at the conference? It's happening everywhere. If you are in a situation now where you're saying we've just got too much stuff in the house, we can't do it. No, get on with it already. Just get on with it already. Because we don't have time. Things are sitting longer. Houses are sitting longer. How many homes are you seeing coming on the market now, Will?
More every day.
Yeah, for people that have been looking for a very long time.
Yeah.
Will has what we call a lot of A-level buyers that are coming in from other places all around the country. He helps so many buyers and sellers, and now they're actually able to find a home. How tough has that been for the last few years?
Oh, my gosh.
Since you've been in real estate, really, you haven't known anything else.
Yeah, it's been incredibly tough. We've seen offers go, 5-10% over and not get it, and someone else get it, and still us be either cash buyers or just a conventional loan, which is the most competitive loan you could have. So it's been an interesting little bit. So it's kind of refreshing that the market is beginning to shift to a more healthy market.
Absolutely. And we have strategies for you. That's the thing. These strategies are very important. For example, if you've got all this stuff, you're saying, we can't get out of here, especially those of you who, we're helping 3 clients right now who are moving into some kind of assisted living, and you're waiting for your unit to come up. When your unit comes up that you're moving into, you've got 90 days.
Wow.
To sell your house. So that used to be easy, right? So in the last 2 or 3 years, no problem. We'll put it on the market and then we'll get you a seller possession after closing because we're going to sell it so fast. That may not happen now, especially if at that age, you're usually going to be in your 60s or 70s or maybe even 80s. You got all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Your stuff, I went to a house about a month ago where they'd collected things. It was absolutely fantastic, and he really did have some very high-level furniture, most of which I wanted to purchase. It was amazing. He'd brought it from all over the world. And that was quite unusual, but that's a major job to move on to that next rung.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
And remember, it's so funny. I'm away and I'm hearing people say, yeah, I'll be fine next year. This is a 7 to 11 year cycle. This is not something we just make up. It's a cycle. It really bothers me that more. I wonder if newscasters don't talk about this. Are there such things as newscasters anymore, or are they talk show hosts who have opinions? Don't talk about this. It's normal, 7 to 11 year cycle, which means that if you're 70 years old, do you really want to wait 7 to 11 years for your home to be worth more than it's worth now? Mm-hmm. People go, do you really think prices are going to come down? That blows me away, honestly. Oh, no, we've got no inventory. We've got no inventory at all. How are you seeing the inventory, Will?
It's increasing.
Yeah, inventory meaning number of rooftops, the number of homes on the market.
Yep.
We see it every day. It's increasing. This is not like Debbie Downer here. We just tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm presuming you'd like the truth rather than us going, oh, no problem, we'll sell in a day and then we'll get seller possession after closing. Let's talk about some tactics. One is that many of you as sellers know that the interest rate's gone up. What are people saying? What are you hearing out there, Will? What are people saying to you about the interest rate going up?
Oh, it's so high.
It's so high.
Way more than it was. I can only afford half as much.
Yeah. It's 6%. It used to be 2.9. 2.9 was crazy. We spent 2 years telling you how 2.9, how amazing it was, and many of you jumped on the bandwagon and many of you refinanced your homes. Good on you. Here's the thing. If you have a 5.5% interest rate, it's normal. It's much more. What's normal? It's like foreclosures are never zero. Unemployment is never zero, right? There's always a level. What is that average level where the average person can afford it? That is 6%. 6 to 7% is an interest rate. And guess what will happen? We'll all stop whining and moaning and get used to the fact that it's 6%, and people will start buying houses again. It's really that simple. People move, It may be that we see we'll see some price correction. Certainly at the higher end. There is no doubt in my mind.
Yeah.
So, and isn't that, again, healthy. I got into real estate in 2007, back when Will was about 3. No, he was a fly fisherman at that point, probably.
Yep.
Taking people on fly fishing trips. So if you're interested in fly fishing, call up Will. He's the man for you. I've got somebody coming in from California who is all into fly fishing, and he's going to be your client. He's looking at $1 million, by the way. I've already,
Okay, I'm in.
told him to call you.
Yep.
So, when we were looking at that point, so 2007, the average house price in Buncombe County, do you know what it was, Will?
Don't know. 200,000.
Any idea, Andy?
175.
You're very close. 178.
Wow.
$178,000. Do you know what it is now?
Over 500.
425.
420.
It's over doubled. 2007. And here's the thing: as you get older, and all of you listening who aren't, 30, understand this. Even when you're 30, you start to feel it. 2007 doesn't seem like very long ago, does it?
No.
When you're 20, you're like, 2007, I was barely born. But when you're a little bit older, it's not very long ago. And what you realize is people weren't earning any more. People were earning about the same. They might have had an increase of 2 or 5%. What percentage increase is, 180 to 425? That's over 100%, correct?
Yeah, much over.
So have people's wages increased by 100%? Obviously not.
Absolutely not.
So how can all this group of people afford a house? It's really obvious when you think of it that way, right?
It is.
What can you get out there for 180 now, Will?
Oh, wow. In Asheville, hardly anything.
I'd say about nothing.
Yeah.
Maybe an older manufactured home.
That would need some work.
Maybe a condo.
Yeah.
That would need some work, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a condo.
And, realistically, you'd probably have to look outside of Asheville. You'd have to look in Waynesville, Hendersonville,
Right.
Old Fort.
If you were lucky.
Further.
Hendersonville's almost at the same level now.
Yeah.
There's so many people are moving south. So yeah, it's kind of, I see Will's got his I Love Asheville hat on, so he's staying north side. That's cool. Where'd you get that from?
Well, it's actually an iBicycle Asheville.
Oh, there you go.
I'm a big mountain biker, so
I
one
thought
of the
it was
bike
a
shops
heart.
up here. I do love Asheville, though.
Yeah, I love Asheville too.
Yeah.
It's just it's changed a lot since 2007 when I was first doing real estate here, just a little bit.
Just a touch.
But that's, this is again a BGO. It's a blinding glimpse of the obvious. Think of, it's shocking to me that we have so many people that manage to afford to buy at 425, but those are the same people that were earning the same amount that were buying a house at 180. So they're getting house poor is what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're paying most of those people. Most of those people are paying way too much of their money out in housing expenses. We now think it's normal to pay 60 or 70% of out in our housing expenses. Now, the problem is anything happens with
That used to be like a third.
Yeah.
You
Dave
couldn't-
Ramsey says 15%. I don't know how anyone does it for that unless you're
No.
Warren Buffett or something.
But the regulations used to be like, no more than a third of
Right.
your-
Right.
Now it's 60, 70% uncommon, not uncommon at all.
Well, let's think about that for a minute. 425. What kind of payment is that a month? 3,000, 3,500, depending on whether you're doing 15-year or 30-year or whatever. Let's say it's 3,200. 30% taxes. So you're talking about 4,500 in income, something like that. 4,500 times 12. 45,000, 54,
24.
mid-50s you're talking about. The average household income in Asheville is not mid-50s. It's more like mid-30s.
Right.
And that's the average price point. So how much do you find, Will, is out there that's below that 425 mark?
Not a ton.
Yeah, and how much work does it take?
Yeah, a good bit of work. Because they're just more competitive.
Exactly. They're more competitive. And the people who are earning less, do they have money to fix up the home generally?
Generally not.
Right.
Yeah.
And if we go through the inspection process, which we always try and do for our sellers, the vast majority of our sellers decide to do the inspection. Why? Because, the sellers always say to us, well, don't the buyers do that? The buyers absolutely do it. But it's your choice. So finally get your home under contract. It may be a day, it may be a week, it may be 6 weeks, it may be 3 months at this point. If you're a higher priced home and you're out in the boonies a little bit, you're not downtown somewhere, it might be 3 months at this point to get your home sold. All the times are different. If you have not done that inspection, nothing wrong with my home, it's perfect. Everyone thinks that. So, I think there's minor things there. So you go under contract, and how long does it take you to do the inspection, Will?
Man, it depends on the inspector, but I would say you could do it within a week or two.
Yeah, let's say 2 weeks. 2 weeks later, and then a few days to look over the inspection report, everything else. And by the time, getting the contracts in place, extra few days there. So you're about 3 weeks into being under contract and thinking, oh, we're moving on and going off to Arizona or wherever you're going off to Hendersonville or Asheville or Waynesville or wherever you're going. And now the inspection comes back and it's got all this stuff on it. It's got over 30 items on it, almost always. Mm-hmm. When was the last time you saw one without 30 items on it?
A new house.
A new build. Yeah, and even the new builds, right, have a bunch on there.
Yeah.
So sometimes the new builds, you choose not to have an inspection because, the builder's warranty is on there for a year. Here we are. I don't advise that, by the way. Always have an inspection on a new build because you'll find a whole lot of things on there too. It's like a punch list for the builders. So here we are now, 3-4 weeks into your contract, and the buyers find all this stuff. How do the buyers react? Well, do they go, oh, no problem, there's 32 items, no worries at all, we'll just put it right?
Yeah, I think it's always a shell shock.
Yeah.
I know for me specifically as an agent, I have to kind of prep people for the news. It's not necessarily bad news, it is what it is, but I don't think anyone expects it.
Right. And it's pages, and I think the inspectors have to earn their money, obviously. It's their job. And this thing is 50 or 60 pages, and it can be very frightening, especially if you haven't bought a home in a while or you're a first-time home buyer. It can be terrifying, especially if you're earning, $60,000 or $70,000 a year. Here, normally, it would be something like, I think it's 34,000 household is normal. You're earning that money. How are you going to put all these things right? It's like, oh, well, honey, we'll get to it over time. Or a couple of choices. You stick with the house and you ask the seller to put the things right. We don't prefer that on the buyer's side, do we? Why?
Well, a lot of times the sellers will say no.
Right. Or they'll do it the way they want to do it. So if you're a seller and correcting it, and I'm not speaking to those, I'm not saying you don't have a moral compass out there, but you're going to do the least necessary to fix it.
A great example of that is, when you have a cross space and you want to put plastic down, the buyer wants you to get a contractor who's going to pay, 10, 15 grand to put this plastic down.
Yes.
The seller's going to want to go to Lowe's and get the $10 roll of plastic and do it themselves.
And maybe or maybe not use duct tape.
Yeah.
You don't have to use duct tape. I did. I overlapped it. They required 2 feet. I did my own vapor barrier.
Oh, yeah, awesome.
Don't even do it. It's crazy. Absolutely. I mean, I saved money, and I wanted to do it myself, check that was all sealed up and everything. What a crazy idea. Spider webs in my hair.
Oh, man.
Climbing over the pipes, and it wasn't fun at all. But that's a great example, Will. Or maybe some insulation is missing. I mean, it's just natural, right? As the seller, you're going to do the least necessary.
Right.
You're not going to do it badly, but the least necessary. You could take that money as a buyer, maybe the sink is cracked in the guest bathroom or something. You could take that money and maybe redo the bathroom. You could put that $1,000 towards the bathroom. And you could do it whenever you wanted to do it. Of course, most buyers end up never doing it. And then we're selling the house all this time later with the same things. That's honestly the most common story.
And then there's the surprise of, oh, I didn't realize that bathroom needs to be worked on.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. I went into a house, I won't say when, let's say a few months ago. And they said, that bathroom's been remodeled. And I said, great. And I go in there. It didn't look terribly remodeled. And I asked when it'd been remodeled. And one of them said 10 years ago. And the other one said, actually, it was 20 years ago. The bathroom had been remodeled 20 years ago. I said, great. That's wonderful.
That's funny. I feel like you need a different verbiage for an old remodel.
I know, right? But so the upshot is get the inspection done. If you're even thinking about selling in the next 5 years, have us in now. 828-333-4483. Can you believe we're in our last minute already, Will? How did
it's flown by.
I know. It's crazy, right? We've got all kinds of homes for you to look at. Go to mountainhomehunt.com. mountainhomehunt.com. This is Will Morrison and Rowena Patton, Row and Will on the Real Estate News Radio Show. We also have, I wanted to mention, an open house this weekend, today and tomorrow. The times are 11 to 4 today and 2 to 6 tomorrow. That is at 94 Davy Crockett Road. Go to mountainhomehunt.com. Type in 94 David. This is Rowena Patton and Will Morrison from All-Star Powerhouse. This is the Real Estate News Radio Show. See you on the radio next week.
See you later.
This has been the Plain English Real Estate Show with Rowena Patton. Visit Rowena and post your questions at radioasheville.com or call her at 828-210-1648.